Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rodden, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-hosts on the net. And tonight we are reviewing Love and Monsters, currently out on VOD from Paramount Pictures. Of course, joining me tonight is the one and only Dave. Dave, how you doing, Dave?
Hello, I'm good. How are you guys down there in sunny North Carolina?
Yeah, it's sunny and it's North
sunny?
Carolina. Yeah, it's October. And
I guess that's what you'd expect in sunny North Carolina.
Yeah. Weird weather. All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Just over here in my underground bunker, waiting for the pandemic to leave.
Underground bunker. All right. We always call you award-winning filmmaker, and we're going to take a quick little pause here to congratulate you, sir, on collecting 2 more awards at the Wreak Havoc Horror Film Festival. Oh man, that is awesome.
Yeah, we're up to 9 awards now. Yeah, I was happy. We were up for 3 awards, and I was happy to get one. And we ended up winning best micro short film and best effects, special effects for Matt Patterson's amazing effects work. So yeah, I was really surprising. I got to go all the way out. Yeah, I got to go to Winston-Salem, see our film screened at a sort of a makeshift drive-in at the Marketplace Cinemas there, and it was really cool. And I got to socialize a little bit with some other filmmakers and stuff. So actual Crystal Cleveland and her man were there, so I got to see them. She gave me some Halloween gifts. I didn't realize people give gifts around Halloween, but
she loves to give gifts. That's right.
Yeah, she does. She
got me like a little light up Baby Yoda thing and one of those like a nice Freddy Krueger doll.
Yeah, I love her. She sent me a little Jason. I got a little Jason doll.
Oh man, that's so awesome. Oh wow. Well,
we love you, Crystal. Hey, now, do you guys have to quarantine or anything after you do something like that, or are they crazy with that down there?
No.
But I mean, still people were doing their social distancing and wearing masks and stuff. I mean,
as they should.
Yeah. So we were still keeping our distance, but it's not the same as pre-pandemic socializing.
Yeah. All right. Well, look for a Backward Creep out there in virtual film festivals, out there in virtual film festival world. Congratulations, sir. All right. What are we talking about tonight? Because we're going to review a movie, and then after that, we're going to give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene, which you want to stick around for because that's the fun part. But here's the skinny on the film. It is Love and Monsters. October 16th, it came out from Paramount. Synopsis is, in a monster-infested world, Joel, Dylan O'Brien, learns his girlfriend is just 80 miles away. To make the dangerous journey, Joel discovers his inner hero to be with the girl of his dreams. It is directed by Michael Matthews, written by Brian Duffield and Matthew Robinson. The cast includes Dylan O'Brien, Jessica Henwick, Michael Rooker, Dan Ewing, Ariana Greenblatt, Ellen Hallman, Trey Hale, and Bruce Spence playing Old Pete. You might recognize him, just a little role for him, but I don't know. I always like to say hi when I see Bruce Spence. I don't know why, but there you go. And I love films with monsters, so this just has everything in the title that I don't want to see. So let's find out what the crew think. We start off with our first impressions, and you know what, Dave?
What?
You're going first, sir.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I discovered with this movie, and I didn't know going into it, is it turns out that I am a fan of the gentleman who wrote this. This is Brian Duffield. Is that right, Doc?
Yes.
I had done a written review of a film called Spontaneous a couple weeks back, and it was written and directed by this Brian Duffield dude. And I really enjoyed it. I loved the hell out of it. And I watched this movie, and I was like, hey, this feels a lot like that Spontaneous movie. Just the way the character did and that type of stuff. And lo and behold, the damn thing's written by Brian Duffield. So I guess that makes me a Brian Duffield fan.
It does.
I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. It's certainly not hardcore horror. This is, there's some science fiction aspects to it, and there's some, goofiness that's going on. But I mean, basically, it's a road flick, for lack of a better thing. We got this this nice guy who goes on a journey to find his girlfriend, and meets up with an odd array of characters and monsters along the way.
Yes.
And gets himself in all types of situations, and discovers he's man enough to get himself out of said situations. It's not a flawless movie. It certainly has its issues, but it has a lot of heart, and it made me smile a couple times, and I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it. Yeah, Brian Duffield, let's just pause on that a second. He's also responsible for Underwater, which is a film we liked early this year. You may have, it's just been such a crazy year, you may have forgotten that film came out back in January. And he's also responsible for creating and writing the first Babysitter film, which we also enjoyed. So, yeah, he's got some talent. So it's a writer to keep an eye on. All right, well, let's see if the opinions stick throughout all the Grue-Crew. Up next is Christopher G. Moore. Sir, what is your first impression of Love and Monsters?
I like the monsters.
Down on
Didn't care for the love.
I don't like the main character.
Oh, well, that's
the main character just annoyed me to no end. I think I was kind of getting, I hate to say it, I was kind of bored in certain parts. The narration just got overly ridiculous to where it's like, who you're supposedly writing this for the girl. I mean, who are you narrating to? It's like, it just got a little bit, I was like, if they got rid of that, I think it would be better. But I do love the idea of the monsters just being basically just radiated versions of normal bugs and creatures that we have in our world, like huge frogs or centipedes or snails or any of that kind of stuff, or crabs. I mean, there are almost parts of this that feel like old timey fantasy adventures, like Sinbad or something.
Yeah, like some of it has a Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. It feels very Ray Harryhausen, but just more like updated with CGI, and I like that aspect of it. So anytime that the monster showed up, I was kind of interested. But I don't know. I really didn't like. I think my main problem is with the main guy. I just didn't really have any investment in him. There was times like I wish one of these monsters would just eat him, just because it just annoyed me so much. I was like, I mean, I will say I think it gets a little bit better when he grows some balls and actually does some things. I mean, I kind of like it a little bit later when we sort of show up on the beach side of things. I like that whole aspect of it, but this film really didn't connect with me, and I don't know. I think a lot of it had to do with the main character, and I don't know if it's just the way it was created or the way it was characterized by the actor, but something about it just rubbed me the wrong way to where I was just like, ugh. It kind of slogged in parts, but I do like the fantasy aspect of it. I love the creature aspect of it, because like I don't like bugs as it is, but if they were to grow, like they were talking, like the whole explanation of like cockroaches growing up to where, it takes a tank to take one out. I was like, shit, I'd be dead. So yeah, I like the monster aspect of it, but the love aspect of it, some of the story aspects of it, and especially the whole thing, the way that plays out, it's like, wow, would not to be spoilerish, but just would people take certain missions and it doesn't turn out exactly the way you want. It's like, oh, why are we even going there? But it is all the mission of him figuring out who he is and that kind of thing, which is fine. But yeah, something about the main character just didn't work for me, and really didn't have me really into the film as much as I'd like to. But I do love the creature design and that kind of stuff. That's the stuff I was always looking forward to when that. Now I did like the Michael Rooker character.
Yes.
And the young girl. I would have rather followed them in this world.
There is an argument for that.
Yeah, which if that had been the case, I would have been all for it. Because they were the more fun characters, the more interesting characters in this world. I I think if this played out like it should have, he probably would have died just walking outside. But but it's just me. Not everybody has art is subjective. So, but yeah, I like their characters. And when they showed up, the film became much more interesting. So yeah, that's my sort of first impression.
Yeah, Christopher would have made it a short, like you get out of the hatch, go for 2 feet, and crunch.
yeah, it'd be like a 2-minute movie.
Credits. All right, yeah, because if you don't like the main guy, that's going to be a hard sell because you literally spend, this 7-day journey with him. Occasionally, you have a character or two with him. You have a dog. But you're basically with him, and he's talking to himself, or a robot, or the dog, and yeah, I can see that's a big minus if that happens. Fortunately for me, that didn't happen that way, but because I liked it, I liked him, I liked this movie. It hit all the right buttons I didn't know needed to be hit. It's serious enough, but it's far more lighthearted than our usual fare, especially this time of year. But I love monsters, and I love those what we used to get that were very, like you mentioned earlier, Harryhausen films. Like if this was made in the 70s, these creatures would have been animated by Ray Harryhausen. It would have been stop motion. No doubt. Oh my gosh, especially the crab scene was just so reminiscent of some of the my favorites from back then. And so it has a lot of imagination and to it in that respect. The whatever the hell the toad frog thing comes out of the it's just a lot of fun. And I thankfully the dog helped. I think there's some interesting stuff there. I agree, Christopher, that Michael Rooker brought a lot more to it than I think the character itself would have. He just was Michael Rooker, and that's exactly what the apocalypse needs. We've learned that before, and in here it's even better, I would say. I could watch another film if it was focusing on him and the girl, and I mean. Kind of hit toward it, but anyway, regardless, I really enjoyed this. This is probably going to end up in my top 10. It really is. I really dug this. It's one of those films that just hits you at the right moment when you need something like that, and I wanted to watch it again right away. I didn't slog through any of it, and I was just like really into the monsters, really into the journey. I like the fact that he grew so much in his 7-day journey that he's not the same guy at the end, and I think that's important for this character and for this movie. So I enjoyed that as well. So there you go.
I agree with you, Doc. You got to see that Spontaneous. I'm telling you, hunt it up. I know this isn't a spontaneous review, but if you like this, I think Spontaneous will knock this out of your top 10.
Oh, I like that idea. I definitely want to see Spontaneous. I was sad that we didn't get to grab it when it came out, but hopefully soon. Okay, so Christopher, you say the guy didn't work for you, but the monster did. Which monster worked the best? Is there one that impressed you more than others?
The crab is probably my favorite. Just the whole idea around it. Mm-hmm. What the people with the yacht were using it for. When they showed up, it turned into like a post-apocalyptic Harryhausen type scenario.
Oh, absolutely.
with the girl with like the gun thing on her arm, and it just felt like, I was like, I would have loved to seen that part of it where people are just like, fashioning guns and making all these makeshift, outfits and stuff. That seemed a much more interesting world to me. But yeah, I think that was probably my favorite. But there's a really cool centipede one that's really cool, and of course the one you mentioned earlier about the toad or whatever that was.
Yeah. What did you think?
What was the thing that's got like a fin, but it was kind of like her from the Tremor movies.
Land shark.
Yeah,
the fin would come up, and
I kept thinking Tremors with that. I felt like that was a Tremors moment where it was burying burrowing. I mean, it had like almost like a fin thing to it. So, yeah, and I mean, I think that.
I was going to say, I thought the snail was really good. Of all things.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. I mean, it's, oh, I mean, I really love the, what they called them, the floating jellies or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful moment,
Sky
I
jellies.
think.
Sky
jellies, yeah.
Sky jellies. And so, like, this is what felt kind of weird to me. It's like, you have like one moments where it just feels like people today, like in the bunker or whatever. And then they have like these weird robot things that are like from like very, very futuristic. And then you have like the post-apocalyptic people from the yacht. And there was like a lot of stuff like, what year are we in? That kind of threw me off, and that kind of stuff, I would have loved to see more of that. Like if they'd done it even more futuristic type society.
Couple more steps, yeah.
If they'd done that, I think to me it would have been much more interesting because then it felt kind of like, where did that come from? I kept thinking like it felt like a combination of what is the Pixar movie with the robots? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can't think of the title.
I can't think of it. It felt a little bit like a non-shrunken version of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,
Yes.
Except where the creatures grow big. So it just felt like a combination of a lot of different science fiction type properties thrown together. But yeah, I mean to me that aspect of the world was much more interesting, and for me when the dog has more interesting personality than the character.
Well, there you go. That's something to think about. Let's talk about that robot for a second, because it is weird that everything else feels very much of today, but that was like out of left field technology wise, right? But at the same time, they use it for a really emotional scene. At least it was for me, because I liked the character. You probably didn't when he shows all the pictures.
No.
You didn't care for that.
No, I was like, let's get to the monsters.
Well, okay.
I wasn't invested. So him crying tears, I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe I've just turned into a cold person. But yeah, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, I thought it was an interesting way to sort of like bring emotion into the scene, because when you have this robot who's basically a walking iPhone and can show pictures of your family and stuff, that adds a whole different element to it, especially when you're in a post-apocalyptic world where you don't have pictures of them anymore, because it's sad that we live in a world now where most of our pictures are on our phones or on our computers. What happens if we lost all that?
Yep. We wouldn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
So our parents would, our grandparents, and they still have theirs, but us, not too many. Not too many. I would have these guys. I wouldn't have any of my kids. Ain't that sad? Like, I want to see my kids. It's like a wolf man. That's sad. I liked it when it got to the beach. I was a little annoyed at how predictable it was with the people, because it was obvious there was something up with them. Although once the crab did show up, it kind of made it all worthwhile. And I love the aspect of and this is a small spoiler. It doesn't really spoil anything in the film, but small spoiler that if sometimes the eyes will reveal if it's a good creature or a bad creature. One that's going to eat you or one that doesn't care to, and that makes so much sense. That some of them are going to be Vegasauruses. They're not going to be Metosauruses, right? So they're not going to try to eat you.
Or just so they have a personality to where you can know the good creatures from the bad creatures. And so, I mean, that's we talk about the people that wrote it and stuff. That's good screenwriting when you can have this element that you can use as a callback later that can help the heroes survive a situation or deal with this situation in the right way.
Yep. Although I will say, even the ones with the most happiest eyes can still do a bob on them and pull their heads off, which is kind of all awesome. I have to agree with our character Joel when he shows up on the beach. It's like, why do you guys want to leave this? This is kind of awesome. like, why you want to go on that boat? This looks great. Because he was used to being in that silly bunker with a cow.
Well, my thing was like, you're going to go out in the middle of the ocean where there's probably all kinds of radiated other creatures out there, and you don't have a way to run away. To me, that's worse. So I was like, stay on land. Do not go out in the water. I didn't understand that to begin with. I knew something was up with that.
Yeah. I liked how they represented the beginning of the apocalypse, if you will, when the kids were at makeout point and looking over the town, and you could see all the shit going down. I don't know. I really liked how this was structured because it threw you right into the movie, and you found out with short flashbacks, so they weren't these unmercifully long things. Although maybe Christopher, maybe they were for you, but
a lot of narration.
Well, there was narration. You know how I feel about narration,
and it just didn't work for me. Sometimes I think that can be a hindrance to your script, and sometimes a crutch for screenwriters is to use a lot of narration to spell things out when you can find better ways to do that, and to me, to be honest, it became a little bit unbearable after a while. It's like, I just stop talking, just go do stuff. And because they use that whole crutch of like him writing these letters or messages, and then after that, they even do the thing of him talking on his little ham radio to people, doing this whole speech stuff.
Right.
It's like, oh great, more narration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would have to admit that if it wasn't for him, writing and drawing in the book, that I would have been a little bit more annoyed. That actually worked for me.
Well, I don't mind that aspect of it with the book thing. I think that to me that was a better way to sort of give information exposition using that than just a traditional like narration. Hey, hey, Amy, I just fought these monsters and I did this. And it's like, yeah, we saw you do it, so stop talking.
Well, it's true. He was repeating what happened. I didn't really consider that. That's a really good point. Dave, anything you want to add to the structure of the film, or there's no gore really? So
no, there's no real gore. It all kind of worked for me. I didn't really have any problems with too much of anything. I bought into it pretty early and stayed bought. Stayed bought.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that our and this is a small spoilers, I guess, is that the Michael Rooker character and the Minnow character, Clyde and Minnow, are really in the second act, right? They are the second act. They basically catch him early in his journey and educate him and then send him on his way as they separate, and which I found an interesting structure as well. And I think, like Christopher said, some people might have wished the film went north instead of west. So interesting thing. All right. Well, there you go. That's our review for Love and Monsters. What we're going to do now is we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. You want to stick around for that because the favorite scene's always great. But before we do, if you're still hanging with us, 1, thank you. Hey, I really appreciate that. 2, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell if you want to be notified, and leave us some comments. Did you see the film? Do you want to see the film? Are you thinking more like Christopher, like it's a slug, or more like Dave and it was a home run? Like to hear what you think. But they're all valid. They're all valid, right?
They are.
All right, let's find out what our final thoughts are. Dave, you are up first again, sir.
I think we covered this one pretty well without spoiling too much. So I don't want to go too much more into it. I enjoyed the journey that we were taking on. The lead character really didn't annoy me. And I'm trying to think if there was anything that I was at any point I was kind of taken out of it, but I wasn't. So that wasn't an issue for me. The monsters seemed to come in at just about the right time. Same with our ancillary characters. As he moved along, we get these people. They'd pop in. He'd gleam the good stuff off of them and go back on his way again. That all worked for me as well. Favorite scene. I think my favorite scene is gonna have to be the whole scene with the robot. I really like that a lot. Although talking about it now, it does seem a little bit out of place. I mean, there is some exposition on what the robot is and why it might be there, but she just kind of comes out of nowhere, like in an abandoned gas station or something, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, there it is, and he's like, oh, I've always wanted to see one of you, But I thought that character, the robot, was written quite well. The dialogue was fun. I liked the sacrifice the robot made to help him on his journey. Mm-hmm. That all just kind of worked for me, and I liked it from the beginning all the way through the sky. What did we say they were? Sky flowers or sky creatures or whatever they were.
Floating sky jellies or floating
sky jellies. Yeah,
sky jellies.
I liked all that all the way up to when they part ways. So that's going to be my favorite scene, and I'm give it a 3.75.
3.75. All right.
3.75.
3.75. Christopher G. Moore, you're up next, sir. Your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene.
Well, to me, this film was like the middle of the road for me. I think that if I was a little bit more invested in the main character, I probably would like it more. But the character just annoyed me so much to where I got kind of bogged down in following this character. And it wasn't until we met more interesting characters around him, whether it was the dog or whether it was the Rooker character and the little girl, who were much more interesting characters. I think he would have worked as a more secondary character to them. I would have probably enjoyed it a whole lot more. Because I love the little girl character. I thought she was great. I love all the little terminology for all the different monsters and stuff.
Yes.
And really, anytime they had to deal with monsters, and again, we talked about screenwriting. It's like if they hand you a specific weapon, like Chekhov's gun, you're going to have to use it at some point, and they do that with a certain thing. I think the third act is where it got really interesting for me, where it just felt it got more actiony, more Ray Harryhausen actiony, and I really enjoyed that part of it. That's where I got really more invested in the story and really enjoyed it, to where I really wish the rest of it was like that a little bit more. Like if it'd been much more like action oriented with that, if he was like traveling with other people or whatever, I think it would have been better. But just him on his own, him just narrating every little thing he does, just got old, to where I just like, get eaten already. Which I hate saying that, because those people put a lot of effort into writing these stories and stuff. But sometimes I just I used to get like that sometimes on like Walking Dead or some of these shows. Like I just eat the person. Let's get it over with, so I don't have to suffer. So yeah, there were certain elements I wish there were more. And it's like when we got like the WALL-E was the movie we're trying to think of.
WALL-E,
yes, it's like there's like a WALL-E element with robots, but they're also a cow, and then I was thinking, don't cows have to be pregnant to continue to milk? I don't know how that process goes. So I don't know. There's like some logic stuff I was putting into it I probably shouldn't have, and I think usually that happens if I'm not invested. I can watch people with laser swords and force powers as long as it's an interesting story, but sometimes I clock out if it's not really keeping me going. So yeah, I think the monsters are a lot of the main reasons to watch this, and some of the secondary characters like the Rooker.
The Rooker.
Yeah, and even the Amy character, when we meet her, she's a little bit more badass.
She is to
some degree. So
yeah.
So yeah, I'll say that I'm in the middle of the road for this. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So it's more just monsters to me.
Just monsters.
I'll give it a middle of the road. I'll give it a 3.
Oh, okay, that's a little better than middle of the road.
Bad.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a 3 because I think I do love the creation of the monsters. I like some of the elements of this world, and I think if a lot of it were more like the third act, I think it would have been more badass for me. But Again, art is subjective. As for favorite scene, other than the visuals of the sky jellies, I will have to say the whole big action scene in the third act, where we have some really good action choreography along with the crab creature. I really love that scene. So where I could watch a whole movie just if it had elements like that and enjoy it, because that felt like Indiana Jones. It felt like a lot of the big action stuff that we've seen before, and it was really real well choreographed and well mapped out to where it felt like, oh, where did this come from? We had to go through all this, slog through all this weird world to get to this part, which is awesome. So it's definitely if you really want to hit them with the money shot, that's the big money shot of the film, is that big action scene towards the end. So
absolutely,
that would be probably my favorite scene, if that could be considered a scene.
It is absolutely a scene. Okay. And I will say that it's all in the eyes, baby. It's all in the eyes. All right, I dug this movie. It just resonated with me. It hit me. It just hit like I said, it hit buttons I didn't know I needed to hit. And it's lighthearted. It's optimistic, even though we're in an apocalypse, right? Our character not only survives but grows, and he does find, like the synopsis says, he finds that inner hero, and I enjoyed that. And it's all for love, and it could be called Fool's Errand, like Michael Rooker's Clyde says, and that would be just an equally good title. But I also love the imagination with the characters, from the centipede looking things to the snails to the crabs to the frogs to all kinds of things that we see. Something in the trees that we don't know what exactly it is, but it still looked awesome. I'm just wondering why nothing was flying around. Wouldn't there be like flying bugs too? I guess we just didn't get to them. So there, I guess the short of it is there's a huge world that they've established that we can continue to explore, and I'd like to do that. And if we have to do it with Clyde and Minnow, I would be game for that. It doesn't have to be Joel. We can go Clyde and Minnow. I'm going to give this a 4.5. I really like this. I really liked it. And my favorite scene, Chris took it, so I won't. It's actually just a portion of that, and that's the eyes have it, right? I'll just leave it like that. But if not that, I'm torn between two other scenes, and I'm going to go with the toad. I'm going to go with the frog, just because you get to see these two eyes come up out of the water first, right? But that's not the eyes. There comes up and there's more, and then there's more, and then he has the dog with him by this time, and they've established a rather quick relationship, and having the dog there makes him have to kind of learn to start behaving a little differently, right? Because he's starting to care for the dog. So it's I just loved it, because that was the start of it, right? That's really kind of the beginning of the monsters that he gets. And we haven't met Clyde and Minnow yet, right? And
the dog was the smarter one. The dog was more heroic and smarter than him.
He had to be. He lived out there for 7 years.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. That when the dog is smarter than your main character. But he got smarter as he went along, so he learned. No, the dog. The man did. The man did. Oh man! Well, there you go. That's our review for Love and Monsters. It's out on VOD right now. Check it out and let us know what you think. Oh man, Dave, Christopher, thank you for joining me to talk about this fun film.
Thank you, Doc.
I enjoyed parts of it.
Eat the humans faster.
Yes. And also, like, if there's crazy creatures, I'm just not going to sit there and slowly react to stuff. I'm going to run like shit. But that's just. There's all kinds of things. I'm not going to go into it now when we're trying to wrap up. But yes, you're right. Yeah.
Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.